The freaking Green Bay Packers petitioned the league to outlaw the Tush Push.
Yes. The irony of the whole thing that Mark Murphy, the president of the team, now that they've been outed, we can say it, is that they stopped it twice in Brazil. They stopped it twice. They actually had a better answer than anybody else. But here's the thing. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I told you what Stoutland told me when I was asking him about it last year, when it was at the height of its popularity. And he said, he answered my question to him with a question. He goes, so how do you explain, Baldy, when Carson was our quarterback and we went 36-38 on quarterback sneaks? Like, stop the sneak, okay? If Saquon's pushing us from a yard off the ball, all right. Like, figure out a way to stop it. Like other teams, I mean, we still don't know if Josh Allen got the yard or didn't get the yard against, Baldy. We don't know. All right? It's a difficult play to officiate. Like, I've asked the officials a lot of different ones about how you officiate it, because when does your momentum stop? And they told me, like, as soon as the ball carrier, quarterback or otherwise, starts going sideways and isn't going straight, the whistle should blow. But I don't know if that's true or not, because Josh Allen was going sideways, and I don't know if anybody blew a whistle. So I understand. Look, the fact is, it was when I studied the play, and I'm going to break down the play again today. I broke down the play in the Super Bowl because I had 1.8 million views on the play. But what I did is I attached physics to the play. So physics is part of it is momentum. Part of it is connecting yourself from the ground to the push, where the ground is, because so many guys leave their feet. As soon as an offensive lineman dives and leaves his feet, their play ends. The push ends. Same thing with guys that jump over the top. Like, that's not going to stop the push. Like, F equals MA, force equals mass times acceleration. It's physics. So they don't understand the physics and how to teach it. So I see guys leave their feet or put their knees on the ground, and they're on the ground. There's no power. Like, the Eagles have coached it. Even watch Lane Johnson at right tackle or Mackay. Like, their feet and knees are their feet are dug into the ground where they can get real push.
Yeah,
so it's a poorly coached play.
Right. And here's the thing. There is such a degree of crybaby that you want to outlaw the play. Like, you lost in the playoffs. You lost in Brazil, right? Like, you didn't lose just because of the Tush Push, right? Yeah. Like, you can't outlaw I don't see what grounds do you have to outlaw. It's a football play.
Well, why don't you just get Jordan Love to perfect the play in Green Bay?
Right.
Like, just go work on it, study it, perfect it. It's like but you can't just, this is what happens with the NFL and why it's so confusing to officiate the game, period. It's impossible to officiate because you get a thing like this in the offseason, it comes up, outlaw the Tush Push. All right, it goes away. There'll be some other version of it, but they'll come up with some other way to make a yard. But, like, the problem with it is the rules of the game. What's a fumble? Well, we've altered what a fumble is so many different times in the off seasons like this. You got to have a football play, 3 steps, all this stuff that's impossible to see in real time.
When did they offer your point? When did the ground, because it wasn't always, that used to be a fumble, right?
The ground can cause a fumble. It's like if you're in the open field and you trip and fall on your own and the ball comes out, it's a fumble. Right. The ground caused it, but they'll say, oh, the ground can't cause it. Well, of course it can cause a fumble. That's what they go back and review. But we've gotten to this point, we don't know what interference is. We don't know. A.J. Brown puts his hand, on McDuffie, and it's interference, even though Tom Brady doesn't agree with it, Mike Pryor doesn't agree with it. In slow motion, it's a foul. But, like, we've gotten to the point where we don't know what any interference is, and it changes these games every Sunday because we come out and we say, well, we've got to fix this play. Remember when they said 3 years ago, they said all interference penalties will be reviewed. Well, this game's went 3-15. We kept reviewing a play, and it didn't help that you slowed it down. I get all these people come back to me on the things that I post, guys, where they screenshot something and they're like, oh, this is a hold. Well, you didn't see the whole play. You saw a screenshot of somebody around, Jalen Carter's neck.
Right.
Oh, it's a hold. Well, that's not actually a hold. All right. If it's restricting Jalen from making a play, okay, then you got grounds. But a screenshot of it isn't a hold. Like I talked to TJ Watt about this in depth 2 years ago because he throws a hook, an arm under. The offensive lineman naturally goes from hands out here to where the hook wraps around his neck. And I go, well, TJ, is that not a hold? He goes, no, not by the rules. And this is the guy that has more sacks than anybody over the last 6 years in the history of the game. He's like, it's not a hold. If they take me to the ground, Baldy, it's a hold. But like we've gotten to the point, and then this is my point about the tush push. All right, we're going to go have this discussion this offseason. Maybe they cancel, maybe they don't. I don't know. Depends how many teams ratify it. But that's why the game is so confusing now, because we keep changing these rules, making it even more difficult to officiate.
So I guess my question too is, where is it not football? Like, where is it unfair?
Yeah, no, look, I guess what they think is unfair, like what Bill Cowher is saying, is that it's rugby, it's not football. You're pushing the guy from behind.
Okay.
All right.
Right.
All right. So you can make that claim, I guess.
Because I guess in college, you're not allowed to actually push the ball carrier forever. That's how it used to be. Right.
Yeah. Well, I thought in the NFL you weren't allowed to do that either.
Yeah.
But we see guys down the field do it all the time.
Yeah.
Like a guy like breaks a tackle. I remember one time
offensive line, when an offensive line there's a ball carrier, right? He's at the 7. Like all of a sudden, the whole line comes and pushes him down to the 4. Well,
right.
What's the difference?
Exactly. So, like, I remember talking to Carson Wentz about quarterback sneaks one time, and I had a play. I was sitting down in the film room with him, and he had a play on a quarterback sneak against Washington. I'll never forget it. And he went for like 20 yards on a quarterback sneak, and he was pissed at himself. He goes, Baldy, they never got my legs. And he goes, I'm going to score on this play. If they don't grab my legs and they're just tackling my upper body and my legs are still free to go and rumble, to your point, if you don't get the legs, strong guys like Jalen, like Carson, some of these guys that are just bulls at quarterback, like, okay, they're going to go a long ways. So to me, football is still about winning one-on-ones at every position, winning a one-on-one battle. I don't care if it's, in a Super Bowl, if it's, I don't know, Pacheco against Zach Bond. Like, who's winning the one-on-one, right? It's about Mekhi Becton against Chris Jones. Who's winning that one-on-one? Well, go beat Cam Jurgens. Don't let him get a head start. Like, they're behind the ball. The defensive line actually can get all the ball. They should have the advantage. No, they don't know the snap count. But if they go on the ball, the offensive line is at least 6 inches behind the ball, maybe a foot. Like, you should have the advantage as a defensive lineman to get the push. Like, why aren't they pushing from behind?
Right.
And going force against – I never see that.
Force against force, yeah.
Why, like, if I was to stop it, why wouldn't I get Jordan Davis on the Eagles defense?
Right.
And along with all your defense tackles pushing the front line forward.
Right.
And maxing force against force. Like, I don't see anybody doing that.
No, they did. You should be allowed. You're right. You should be allowed to have your linebackers there.
Forget about the linebackers. Go get your 350-pound backup defensive tackles.
Right.
They're just sitting there and have them push the front push and take advantage of the snap, take advantage of where the offensive line have to line up so they're not off sides, and you push against their push.
And then what happens is, right, which will be making it interesting because I saw the fake tush push. I was telling you, it was a bowl game, and they did the fake tush push and completed it down the field. In fact, I texted Howie. If you remember, the Eagles tried to run that.
Yes, they did. It backfired.
Yeah. But, it actually, to me, it makes the game interesting because if you try to do that and put backup D tackles in, you're going to leave yourself vulnerable off the edge.
So this is where I would counter against Bill Cowher. Okay. And he was saying it's a rugby play, not a football play.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine, Bill. That's your That's your stance. Well, mine is, well, let's gear up for the tush push and let's have a variety of different plays off it, to your point.
Yeah.
If they gear up everybody in the middle, let's throw it on the outside. Hell with the yard. Let's go A.J. Brown, miss a tackle, and go to the house. Let's add strategy to it. And that's what the Eagles are trying to do.
Yeah, and to your point, again, if you're the Packers, well, go do it. Go get Jordan Love is a big dude.
Yeah,
go ahead. Let him get low and let him go.
So this league, some days, I mean, there's 270 games during the season. Like some of these games come down to gaining a yard, keeping possession, scoring the touchdown. 4th and 1 at the 1, you don't score, you come away empty-handed, you lose the game. You go, if you gain a yard, the Jets, it happened to the Jets this year. The Jets had first and goal at the 1 against Denver, week 4. I'll never forget because I announced the game. They came away with no points. But why couldn't they? Why couldn't Aaron Rodgers or put up your Tyron Taylor, put him in there, or put somebody else in and do it? Why in the world they should have won the game? And maybe their season changes, but they lose to Denver. They can't gain a yard. I say it all the time. It's just like Burt Reynolds' movie, The Longest Yard. That's literally the theme of the day in so many of these games. So the Eagles don't have that issue. They're over 90% clip the last 3 years doing this play. All right, it's one of the reasons why they won so many games.
It's brilliant, and it's brilliant, right? When you think about the concept of a yard, because now you're not four snaps and 10 yards. You're 4th and 8.5 max.
No, but Nick's sitting over there, or Kellen Moore, whatever, last year, and you're going, all right, you're 3rd and 3. Most teams on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4 are throwing the ball. But the Eagles can run it, which is a strategy by itself. All right, we're going to run it. You got your nickel out there. We're going to run it. We only get 2 yards. It's 4th and 1. Well, they've already made the decision. We're tush pushing. Yard to a yard and a half. We're going for it. So it's not just a play. It's a strategy of how you're playing the game, which is effective. And so you can't just say, okay, we'll eliminate the play. The Eagles have a whole game plan.
Right.
For that play, leading up to the play. And I've seen them go for it. You've seen it, Cuz. You've seen it where they're going for it 4th and 1 at their own 35-yard line. They have that type of faith in it. They're not punting the ball away.
It just sticks in my crawl, too. This the Packers, the home of Vince Lombardi. There's no way he would complain about this. No way.
You're right. There's something antithetical.
But the irony to that whole comment, and you're totally right. The irony of the whole comment is the most famous play in all of football is, the Ice Bowl game. And Bart Starr, quarterback sneaking for the touchdown.
Yeah.
The most famous play in football.
Yes.
And it happened right at Lambeau Field.
Right. It's football, man.
Yeah.
It's not rugby. It's football.